DNA profiling, also called DNA fingerprinting, DNA testing, or DNA typing, is a forensic technique used to identify individuals by characteristic of their DNA. A DNA profile is a small set of DNA variation that is very likely to be different in all unrelated individuals, thereby being as unique to individuals as our fingerprints, hence that alternate name for the technique. DNA profiling should not be confused with full genome sequencing, first developed and used in 1985. DNA profiling is used in, for example, parentage testing and criminal investigation to identify a person or to place a person at a crime scene. Techniques which are now employed globally in forensic science to facilitate police detective work and help clarify paternity and immigration disputes. Although 99.9% of human DNA sequences are the same in every person, enough of the DNA is a different that is possible to distinguish one individual from another, unless they are monozygotic, identical twins. DNA profiling uses repeat sequence that are highly variable called variable number tandem repeats or BNTRS, and a particular short tandem repeats or STRS. BNTR loci are very similar between closely related humans but are so variable that unrelated individuals are extremely unlikely to have the same BNTRS. The modern process of DNA profiling was developed in 1988. Anthropometry, designed by Alphonse Bertillon, began in 1890 and lasted approximately 20 years before being replaced by fingerprint identification. The anthropometry was derived from the Greek word anthros means man and metri means to measure. The part of anthropology having to do with measurement of the human body which to determine differences in races, individuals, and related issue. Anthropometry is a science that deals with the measurement of size, weight, and proportion of the human body. It is empirical in nature and has developed quantitative methods to measure various physical dimensions. Impacting factors related human dimension. First is gender, second is ethnic origin, third is age, and the fourth one is the generation. Anthropometric data. Anthropometric data includes anatomical limits to movement, limits of reach, static body dimension, static force capabilities, endurance capabilities. Types of anthropometrics. The types is static, structural, and the next one is dynamic, functional. Static is a measurement of the body dimension taken with the body in a standard and still. While dynamic is the distance are measured when the body is in motion or functional or engaged in a physical activity. The portrait parley method. The portrait parley is an identification technique invented by Alphonse Bertillon in an early stage of development of his anthropometric measurement system. This method, compiled in 1893, was meant to supplement measurement and better ascertain the identity of a given person. Each section of the body and face was designated by a corresponding sign transcribed in succession, the end resulting being an individual descriptive card that could be further condensed into a notice. Bertillon broke down each part of the human face into minute details. The nose, for example, had 6 key descriptive features: root, tip, dorsum, base, height, and breadth. In addition to the key facial features, the hair and beard were described, as well as the arms, legs, and general appearance. Race and skin color were mentioned too. The whole concept of the portrait parley hinge on a precise notation system based on an expanded list of abbreviation and a conventional terminology. An exhaustive record card could involve more than 100 annotation. Portrait parley featured prominently in the training about new identification techniques received by police officers. This teaching deeply influenced the ongoing professionalization of policemen and gendarmes from 1900 onward. The system itself, however, proved rather cumbersome in everyday practice. The portrait parley method remained prestigious for quite a while, as it was believed that experienced officers were able to draw on it, identify with certainly a suspect who mingled with the crowd. However, telegraphic transmission of data was difficult despite the invention of several dedicated codes, and no agreement was ever reached on universal terminology, which proved fatal to the portrait parley, whose use gradually declined during the interwar period. Forensic odontology is the proper collection, interpretation, evaluation, as well as presentation in a court of dental evidence during the conduct of criminal and civil proceedings. It is the application of dentistry in legal proceeding deriving from any evidence that pertains to teeth. Teeth basic, approximately 32 teeth in adult mouth. 4 types of teeth: molar, premolars, canine, and incisors. Teeth differ in size, shape, and root type. Individual characteristic: size of tooth, shape of root, placement of tooth, quantity of teeth, combination of dental work done, crowns, extraction, bridge, filing, root canals. Analyzing teeth. The universal system. Teeth are given a specific number. Primary teeth are given specific capital letter. Any dental work done on surface is noted. Sheets keep on dental file forever. When person is missing, file are transferred to the missing person's office. Bite marks. Impression from teeth found on skin or items left at scene, usually outline teeth placement. Where find bite mark. Impression left on food, skin, or other items left at a scene. Porous surface that absorb the impact enough to make an impression. Impression vary depending on the pressure applied. The impression will show accordingly. The more pressure there is, the more detail to the bite. Analyzing bite marks. Bite marks are photographed with a scale. Bite marks on skin are taken over repeated intervals. Casts of impression are taken. Impression traced onto transparencies. Casts of suspect teeth are taken. Comparison between suspect cast and bite mark. Forensic serology is the detection, classification, and study of various bodily fluids such as blood, semen, and fecal matter and perspiration, and their relationship to a crime scene. Forensic serologists may also be involved in DNA analysis and blood stain pattern analysis. A combination of two tests are generally performed. One is catalytic test such as hemastic or the Kastle-Meyer test, which is based on the peroxidized like activity of hemoglobin. The other is the Takayami crystal assay, which form a ferro-protoporphyrin ring by reaction between pyridine and the iron atom of the heme group. Testing for trace of blood using luminol process is also used by scene of crime investigators. Semen identification is usually accomplished by combining UV tests and acid phosphate tests and a microscopic slide search for spermatozoa. If no spermatozoa are seen on the prepared slide, a test for the presence of P30, also known as prostate-specific antigen, is commonly performed. Common saliva detection techniques are based on the activity on the enzyme alpha amylase, which break down starches from food into smaller polysaccharide molecules, starting digestion in the mouth. In testing the alpha amylase breakdown, starches present and creates a color change. A starch iodine gel contains agarose and starch. Sample are added to the gel and allowed to diffuse through the gel overnight. Visualization is accomplished by adding iodine to the gel which stain the starch in the gel blue. When saliva is present, the alpha amylase breakdown, the starches creating a clear circle around the sample well. Forensic anthropology is the application of the science of anthropology and its various subfields, including forensic archaeology and forensic toponymy. In the legal setting, a forensic anthropologist can assist in the identification of deceased individuals whose remains are decomposed, burned, mutilated, or otherwise unrecognizable. As might happen in a plane crash, forensic anthropologists are also instrumental to the investigation and documentation of genocide and mass graves. Along with forensic pathologists, forensic dentists, and homicide investigators, forensic anthropologists commonly testify in court as an expert witness. Using physical markers present on a skeleton, a forensic anthropologist can potentially determine a victim's age, sex, stature, and ancestry. In addition to identifying physical characteristics of the individual, forensic anthropologists can use skeletal abnormalities to potentially determine cause of death, past trauma such as broken bones or medical procedures, as well as disease such as bone cancer. The method used to identify a person from a skeleton relies on the vast contribution of various anthropologists and the study of human skeletal differences. Through the collection of thousands of specimens and the analysis can be made based on physical characteristics. Through this, a set of remains can potentially be identified. The field of forensic anthropology grew during the 20th century into a fully recognized forensic specialty involving trained anthropologists as well as numerous research institutions gathering data on decomposition and effect it can have on the skeleton. Today, forensic anthropology is a well-established discipline within the forensic field. Anthropologists are called upon to investigate remains and to help identify individuals from bones and other physical characteristics which could be used to identify a body no longer exists. Forensic anthropologists work in conjunction with forensic pathologists to identify remains based on their skeletal characteristics. The victim is not found for a lengthy period of time or has been eaten by scavengers. Flesh marks used for identification will be destroyed, making normal identification difficult if not impossible. Forensic anthropologists can provide physical characteristics of the person to input a missing person databases such as of the National Crime Information Center in the US or Interpol's Yellow Notice database.
Boop.